with traffic, cratering in some cases, it can raise questions internally about, well, what is the role of our website if buyers aren't visiting in the huge numbers that they used to, and should it be an area of ongoing investment, or should we abandon it? B2B users are moving from Google to AI first ways of searching. So they're using ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini to perform web search activity for them, to synthesize the information and provide them with it in a more concise format. AI is here and it's disrupting B2B website traffic dramatically. AI is affecting how Google as a platform is used and the role it plays in B2B marketing, and how traffic as a channel performs for you as a business. Users are B2B buyers are embracing generative AI, LLMs, and tools that offer them those features aggressively, and it's having the effect of driving different behaviors and patterns in terms of the website traffic you receive. Broadly speaking, B2Bs are going to see their website traffic decline. They probably have already, and it will continue. So it may make you ask the question, well, what is the future of our website? Do we need to continue to invest in it? Do we need to continue to look after it? Or should we abandon it and ready ourselves for a new future? In today's Websites Decoded, I'm going to look at what AI's effect is having, what effect AI is having on search, and how you can respond when it comes to your website. Did you know that most businesses only use 20% of their data? That's like trying to solve a puzzle with 80% of the pieces missing, or paying for a coffee that's only 1/5 full. Point is, you miss a lot, unless you use HubSpot. Their customer platform gives you access to the data you need to grow your business. The insights trapped in emails, call logs and transcripts, all that unstructured data that makes all the difference. Because when you know more, you grow more. And when you get a full cup of coffee, you can do more too. But I digress. Visit HubSpot.com today. What is it that AI is doing to our website traffic that we need to be aware of? Well, first up, it's driving up an increase in zero-click search behavior on Google. So Google obviously been the dominant SEO platform for ages. AI overviews in particular that they've rolled out to an increasing number of predominantly informational queries is increasing, not decreasing, the number of zero-click searches. So visits that you were getting from Google around content that you produced, educational, informational content, is most likely decreasing significantly. Now, publishers have seen massive decreases in clicks, and visits, whereas providers, vendors, providers of software and services and solutions have seen more modest decreases. But those decreases are still, significant, and more dramatic on the informational side than on the commercial side. But when you look at it as a whole, your website traffic is decreasing. AI overviews robbing you of those clicks. Also, B2B users are moving from Google to AI first ways of searching. So they're using ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini to perform web search activity for them, to synthesize the information and provide them with it in a more concise format, so they don't have to visit your website. So you're going to see a decrease in organic search traffic from Google because of zero clicks. And you're also going to see a recalibration and a recombination of organic traffic to include more visits from, AI agents and tools in the first place. So ChatGPT, Claude, and others themselves coming to your website and retrieving content. And then to some degree, users of those tools navigating to your website, either in a measurable way through the platform they're using, or via other channels, but as a result of work that they've done within an AI tool. So with traffic, cratering in some cases, it can raise questions internally about, well, what is the role of our website if buyers aren't visiting in the huge numbers that they used to, and should it be an area of ongoing investment, or should we abandon it? Well, abandon it you must not, because while the volume of visitors is going down, it's proven already that the conversion rate, or at least the potential conversion rate of visitors from AI, is significantly increased. Visitors who come to you from an AI source have typically done a lot of the research process without visiting your site, without creating those analytical clicks and data points that they would have done if they were reading content in an informational context. They've done the research, they've evaluated their options, they've looked at competing choices, they've formed a preference list. And if they're visiting your website after all of that, and as a result of that, then there is a significantly increased likelihood that they are good fit, that they are qualified, that they are high intent, and that they might act on that intent, meaning these visits to your website are becoming significantly more valuable to you in terms of real revenue results. So abandoning your website and its investment is not an option. Instead, you've got to think about how can you invest in ways that optimize for this new era of buyer behavior. If we think about how you can approach your website in terms of leaning into the changes that we're seeing, you've basically got 3 core options for what you can do. One is you can optimize your website for the new way that buyers are researching and the new tools that they're using. Optimize for AI agents, LLMs, and users of them. That is essentially what we could call technical answer engine optimization, very similar to technical SEO. The next choice that you've got is to try to increase the number of people that arrive at your site as a result of AI providing them with information about you, which is about optimizing for citations, optimizing for mentions, optimizing your visibility and your discoverability within AI usage. And then finally, you've got the conversion rate of your website once visitors arrive. Let's talk about each of those individually briefly and see what options we've got. If you're enjoying this show, let me recommend another one from the HubSpot podcast network, This Old Marketing, hosted by Joe Paluzzi and Robert Rose. What I love about this podcast is how Joe and Robert break down what's actually working in content marketing right now. And if you're building websites that convert, you need to understand the content strategy that's driving them. Their recent episode on biggest marketing stories coming in 2026 had me taking notes the entire time. They're calling out trends before everyone else is even talking about them. Real insights and classic marketing lessons, all in under an hour. Listen to This Old Marketing wherever you get your podcasts. So when it comes to optimizing your website for AEO, as I said, that is very akin to technical SEO. Within AI optimization, the key concepts to think about are things like how your website is understood and read by an AI agent when it crawls and retrieves passages, which is how they go about providing information to their users, rather than whole pages. So it's less about the the metadata, the title. Those are all still important, but it's not as strongly weighted as it was in an SEO era. And it's more about things like schema. So schema is a web markup language which helps robots effectively understand what the contents of a page is about. And while it's always been valuable, very valuable within B2C environments, but moderately valuable within B2B, it's more and more important within an AI era, because schema helps agents understand your website better and more quickly. So it's definitely worth applying schema to pages that are important in terms of your AI mentions, where your brand is mentioned as a solution to a buyer, and citations. It's worth applying to all of those. Schema tells them things about, what is the page about, what is the content, what are the sections, etc., and a very valuable way to signpost the content and its meaning. Another thing to think about is entities. Entities are important because they help AI understand the world, and entities are different to keywords in that they are your business, they are your people, they are your products and services, they are the real world things that your content describes. And the watchword here is to think about presenting these things in a, I suppose, obvious way. And what I mean by that is, when you write content about your business, it's often possible to sort of leave out things that might seem obvious or that might be a bit repetitive, so that you create an engaging experience for a visitor. But the result might be that you don't clearly signpost what your page is about as an entity, which business, which product, which service, etc., etc. So entities are a very valuable component to think about. And then passage-wise sort of writing. So when AI search tools go through a RAG process, where they're going to retrieve content to synthesize, they are looking for passages of text that are highly aligned and correlated to the search intent and content. So rather than bring back your whole page as a result of, the H1 title, the meta description, and the schema, it's going to look for specific passages within your copy that help it answer the question that's been asked. So you want to look at key pages and review them to make sure that passages are whole, they are complete, they describe ideas fully, and they don't require the AI to reference other passages, as that might prevent them from using you within their response to the user. And if that response is in response to a commercial type query where you might get a brand mention, it's really, really important to be optimizing for how they retrieve that content. But, as with technical SEO, the lift that you can get from technical AEO alone has a limit, has a ceiling. It's a hygiene factor that you must do in order to play in this space, but it is the beginning of the journey, not the end. After that, you've really got to think about, well, how are you going to make AI mention you more, cite you more within the relevant searches by their users, and so that's a content strategy where you have to think about, well, okay, how does AI retrieve information? What AI queries do we want to be retrieved within, and how can we produce content that will have the result of us appearing more frequently and generating more of these high value visits to our website? That's an AEO strategy. Tune into Demand Decoded, Blend's other podcast, where we've discussed AEO strategy in a bit more detail, and we might come back to it on Websites Decoded, but that's how you build on technical AEO to grow your AI traffic over time. And then the other thing that you should really be doing is thinking about, okay, how do we optimize conversion rate, of visitors that come to our website? We've already mentioned that the visitors from AI searches are highly qualified, high fit, high intent, much more likely to convert. But you still play a role in that by creating an effective user experience that's conversion rate optimized in a B2B context. And so it is worthwhile revisiting the core principles, using your data to confirm or dispute, hypotheses, to optimize the experience of visitors on your website, the journey they take, and the conversion, offers and the process that you take them on, because you can have a really dramatic impact on your conversion rate if you optimize for that outcome. And with the added combination of these visitors being so high value, that is a big lever that you can pull and have a very significant pipeline result indeed. So while website traffic is probably going to diminish, and definitely change in terms of its makeup, it doesn't necessarily mean that your website is going to generate less revenue for you if optimized for the traffic it receives. And abandon it is definitely not a strategy. You want to, for the time being, currently optimize the website and the way you invest in it around this new paradigm of buyer behavior. Here's a quick story from us at Blend and our customer Daytel. Daytel were launching a completely new product into a brand new market with a different type of buyer. To do this effectively, they knew they needed to rebrand, overhaul their website, and rethink their go-to-market. We partnered with them to achieve this, transforming their brand, rebuilt the website and their new identity, working with them long-term to shift from lead generation to demand generation. The impact? 35% more revenue, 63% more profit, and 800% ROI from marketing, and a HubSpot Impact Award to recognize the success. This is what happens when you have a partner who has strategic, creative, and technical expertise all working together. If you're in a similar place and want to discuss how we help your businesses grow, just head over to blendb2b.com.